The Broncos' new uniforms may have leaked, and we're going to share them with you guys and react to what could be what Denver wears in 2024 and beyond. And then George and Sean Payton spoke to the media yesterday, and George Paton said that the team likes 7 to 8 quarterbacks. So we'll kind of break down what that means for Broncos country. But let's start things off with the uniform leak. And for full transparency, it came from, and I never thought I'd be saying this on the show, CTESPN Network, which is, I guess I don't think a company is the right word to use to describe it, but it's operated by Antonio Brown. And I know that right there is not a lot of credibility to stand on. I will add that for all the wild tweets that Antonio Brown puts out these days, he has had some correct predictions, like he had Stephon Diggs going to the Texans before anyone else really did. So do with this what you will, but here's what he tweeted out, and it looks kind of legit, right? Let's talk about the uniforms. So we've got an orange uniform with some white and blue shoulder stripes, and then we've got some road white uniforms with orange and blue shoulder stripes and blue numbers. Now, one thing that I want you to take a close look at is you've got these triangles on the sides. Do you see that on the front of the jersey? They're disgusting. Like, I don't understand why we're playing geometry with our uniforms here. Now, Benjamin Albright, who said he has seen the uniforms, and I'll take his word for it, was asked about those triangles because they are a little bizarre, and he said there's more than 6 of them. They're inside the numbers. They're hidden in a few. They're hidden in them in the back of the neck. They're all over the place. Is this a scavenger hunt or an NFL jersey? Because I've got strong opinions, and the rest of the office gives me a hard time about this, about uniforms, because I don't like the XFL style of more is more. I'm a little bit old school. I like the simplistic jerseys. It doesn't have to be Penn State or Alabama simplistic, but I do believe that less is more when it comes to jerseys in a lot of ways. And if those are the uniforms, I'm scared. I'm not crazy about them. I'm not going to get too worked up over them because right now it's just Antonio Brown's leak. But if those really are the uniforms, have another look at them again. Please tell me it's not too late to take the triangles off because I don't understand those at all. I have heard that they've got, the elevation going on the pants, and I think that's kind of cool. But, man, not super jazzed up about these uniforms. Now, we'll get the official uniforms on April 22nd, so just a few days away from now and before the NFL draft. But if those are the uniforms, how would you feel about them? Would you be a fan or not? I think it's a little tough to give an accurate opinion because I got to see a player wearing them, and then my brain can fully comprehend, like, all right, that's what it looks like on a human being. Those are cool. Those aren't cool. But initial reaction is, I hope it's not too late to maybe make some changes if those truly are the uniforms. All right, next up on the show, George Paton said to the media that the team likes 7 to 8 quarterbacks. So I want to unpack this quote with you and kind of give you the AKA in English what this means because he's talking in GM talk here. But here's what Paton said word for word. I do think it is a good quarterback class. There are 7 to 8 quarterbacks that we like who we think can play in the league someday. But it is a good quarterback class. It's been fun getting to know them, 7 or 8 of them. We think we can get a quarterback early. We think we can get one mid-rounds. We think there's going to be quarterbacks throughout the draft who are interesting to us. AKA, we like so many quarterbacks that if we don't get one in round 1, don't worry, everyone. We still have guys we like for rounds 2 and 3 of the draft. George Paton is starting to develop a pattern of when he speaks to the media, he tries to get ahead of something that he knows the fan base is going to be upset about. He did this after the season ended. We think Alex Forsythe and Riley Moss and Marvin Mims are starters to Pro Bowl caliber players in this league, right? He was forecasting, we're likely not going to bring back Lloyd Cushenberry, but don't worry, we like Alex Forsythe. We may not go get a cornerback in free agency. Don't worry, we like Riley Moss. We may not get a quarterback in round 1. Don't worry, we like guys that are expected to go in the mid-rounds. So here are Mel Kiper's quarterback rankings because Payton said he liked 7 to 8 guys, and there's a good chance that it's these 8 players right here. Maybe you swap out like Rattler or Michael Pratt for like a Devin Leary from Kentucky, a Joe Milton from Tennessee. Although neither one of those players strike me as like Sean Payton type quarterbacks. So if they do like 7 to 8 guys, then I would expect a trade back because you're not going to get Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels. I think those 3 players are going top 3. I don't believe Denver's going to trade into the top 3. I know the Patriots said the number 3 pick is open, but they're just listening to calls. They're not advocating to trade the pick. I don't think Denver's going to have enough ammunition to outbid the Vikings in a trade up to pick number 3. J.J. McCarthy could be gotten if we see the Patriots stay put at 3 or trade back and not get a quarterback or take like Marvin Harrison at 3. So that to me would be the only path where if the Patriots don't go quarterback in round 1, well, that kind of frees up a QB to fall to Denver at number 12. So if you do see 4 quarterbacks go 1 through 11, well, then I think you could see Denver try and trade back to get a second-round pick to get Bo Nix or Michael Penix or Spencer Rattler, one of those guys, in day 2 of the draft. So this is the trade back idea that I'm working with here. I think the Rams are going to be aggressive-ish in moving up. They haven't had a first-round pick since Jared Goff, so the word on the street is they are looking for offensive line. And this is a really good offensive line draft class when you have a guy like Olu Fashanu, who I think in other years would be a consensus top 10 pick, but because he's in a draft with 4 quarterbacks that project to go top 10, Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison, right there we got 7 of the top 10 picks pretty much locked up. Toss in Joe Alt, there's just not a lot of wiggle room. So what if the Rams go, we don't want to wait until pick 19 because there are a lot of teams from 13 to 18 that could go offensive line, and LA wants to go get their number 1 target on the O-line, so they give up pick 52 and 19 for pick number 12. And in this scenario, I think all eyes are on Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. If Denver is able to trade into round 2 of the draft, I think these will be the 2 quarterbacks they are targeting. Now, evidently, the Raiders are really in on Michael Penix, and to me, Michael Penix doesn't scream Sean Payton's style of quarterback. Whereas Bo Nix, I do think, fits the mold of a quarterback that's going to stand in the pocket, deliver the play call, and not improvise a little bit too much, but take what the defense gives him and just stays on schedule. So the winds are blowing towards Bo Nix to Denver. There's just a lot of chatter in the league that Sean Payton, if he's picking one of these second-tier quarterbacks, would likely fall in love with Bo Nix more than the other guys available. But we're going to continue talking about this subject in just a second. But really quickly, I do want to share with you all a great deal going on at Fanatics. You can get this Broncos hat, which I think is a really cool hat. And the measuring stick for this is producer Cullen. He's not a Broncos fan. And when we were getting ready to film today's video, he's like, not going to lie, that's a really cool hat. So if someone who's not a fan of the team likes it, to me, that should solidify it for yourself. So go to chatsports.com/Broncos hat. I put that link for everyone in the comments and description of today's video, and re-up your Broncos wardrobe. Now let's get to know Bo Nix a little bit better. If you're just kind of waking up for the NFL draft, here's the spark notes on Nix. This is from Dane Brugler at The Athletic. Nix gets in trouble when he plays loose with his technique and his eyes speed up on him, but he understands where to go with the football, and his scrambling can give defenses fits. Though it feels unlikely that he will ever rank among the 15 best quarterbacks in the NFL, he has the tools to become a middle-of-the-road starter. Now, let me just say right now, personally, I'm not on board with Bo Nix. I don't think he's going to make a franchise quarterback, and I understand that there are some big Knicks fans and some not big Knicks fans, but not the New York Knicks. But I try to do my best here on the channel to look through the lens of Sean Payton, because ultimately, that's what really matters. Like if I had a channel that was just centered around what Matthew Peterson would do as a GM, that'd be fun and all for me, but not so fun for, I think, you, the viewer, because I'm not the one calling the shots. So if I'm thinking about what Sean Payton's thinking, I mean, I remember when he got, Drew Brees in free agency from the Chargers. Drew Brees was not like chopped liver. He was the first pick in round 2 for LA. He had a really good start to his time. I say LA, San Diego. He had a really good start to his time with the Chargers, but a shoulder injury set him back, and Ultimately, Sean Payton was very happy to get him in free agency, but I do see some similarities in what Sean Payton looked for in Drew Brees and what Bo Nix has coming out of Oregon. Now, the question becomes, can you get a good quarterback after the first round? History says sort of. So what I did was I looked back at every quarterback taken in round 2, and I just used the PDI test for successful round 2 picks. Now, it's too early to grade Will Levis, but I think we can all agree Kyle Trask in 2021, unsuccessful. Jalen Hurts in 2020, successful. Drew Lock in 2019, unsuccessful. We got Deshaun Kaiser in 2017, unsuccessful. Christian Hackenberg in 2016, unsuccessful. 2014 is open for debate. Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm going to say both those picks were successful. But I could wiggle on the Jimmy Garoppolo one because he never did anything with the Patriots. 2013, Geno Smith, I'll say unsuccessful. And then 2012, Brock Osweiler, I will say unsuccessful. So if you remove Will Levis because it's too early to grade him, we're looking at 3 out of 9 picks there, a little about, 33% success rate. Now, as for quarterbacks that go round 1 in that exact same time span, I would say 16 of the 38 that were selected from 2012 to 2022. It's too early to grade the 2023 quarterbacks. 16 of them are successful picks, and that's 42%. Now, it's a little bit of a captain obvious here. Sure, quarterbacks that go in round 1 are going to be better than quarterbacks that go in round 2. But a near 10%, 10-point jump, it does go to show that there is a drop-off when you go from round 1 to round 2 for quarterbacks. Whereas if I did this exact same exercise with wide receivers, I don't think it's a 10-point drop down. I think you could almost say that you can find better receivers in round 2 than round 1 in some years. Like go ask Deebo Samuel and DK Metcalf and Devontae Adams that. So pick a quarterback for me though. If it came down to Nix or Penix, who would you select? I like Michael Penix, but I am starting to get a little queasy because, man, you're seeing a lot of his teammates go in the first round or in this year's draft, right? Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, Roger Rosengarten. Like, I do kind of have concerns over Troy Fatanu, like 2 offensive tackles and 2 wide receivers. I'm starting to maybe calm myself down on Penix, but I just can't get rid of that initial grade I had on Penix when the season ended. He was so awesome at Washington. And don't let time and boredom just completely erase that memory. But let's say Denver doesn't go quarterback in round 2. What if they don't make that trade with the Rams? What if no one calls up? Well, if we're looking at round 3, pick 76 targets, I would expect Spencer Rattler and Michael Pratt to go somewhere in this neck of the woods. Maybe a little bit before, maybe they'll be there at 76, but I could expect these guys to have a good shot of being there at 76. And to me, I think Denver would prefer Spencer Rattler, right? They had a pre-draft visit with him, if I remember correctly. 6 foot, 211 pounds. Now, he's a bit of a polarizing prospect. He's got a solid arm. He has playmaking abilities. He checks a lot of boxes. He may not jump out in one area specifically, but he definitely doesn't have a major weakness to his game. However, he has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. There has been a lot of chatter about his lack of maturity from high school through college, and he just hasn't made a ton of friends with the way he carries himself. And some people think he's a little bit of a look at me type of person. And I'm not a Rattler fan. I just think when you're looking at franchise quarterback, when there's smoke and a lot of smoke, there tends to be fire. And throughout his entire football career, from the day he started getting coverage because of Netflix's QB1 in high school through his time at USC with the time at South Carolina with the Gamecocks, I think there has been a lot of discourse about Rattler is not everyone's cup of tea. And when we're talking franchise quarterbacks, I think there has to be some level of leadership and maturity at that position to put on him, and I don't think it's going to end gracefully. I've kind of given the comp of Jay Cutler coming out. And Jay Cutler had a solid NFL career, right? Did it work out in Denver, though? No. And I think a big reason was because of the way Cutler handled himself in the locker room. All right, so now we get to kind of wrap up the show with this. We're going to find out what Sean Payton's plan was, because He moved on from Russell Wilson. He got ownership to sign off on paying someone $35 million to move to Pittsburgh. That's a really tough thing to convince your boss of, don't you think? And I'm guessing when he convinced them to do that, it's because he had a plan in place to get better production from the quarterback position. My guess is that plan wasn't Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci. And that's the current makeup of the quarterback room. We're down to the draft now. Free agency has come and gone. So we're going to find out what the plan was and if that plan was executed or if it fell flat on its face. But predict it for me. Which quarterback will the Broncos draft? Not who do you want them to get, but if you had to make an actual prediction who they end up drafting, who is that going to be? Personally, I'll go with Bo Nix. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you all later.